The rural clinic. The winding mountain road stretched endlessly ahead of Marcus Chen's black Tesla as he drove through the remote valleys of eastern Washington. At 35, the CEO of Chen Technologies had built an empire that spanned continents. But today he was running from it all. The board meetings, the media interviews, the constant pressure of being one of Seattle's most recognizable young millionaires. His destination was a small cabin he had purchased sight unseen, a retreat where he hoped to find the peace that had been eluding him for months. The stress of recent acquisitions, the demands of investors, and the hollow feeling that success had brought him had finally become too much. His doctor had warned him about his blood pressure, about the way he was pushing himself beyond reasonable limits, but Marcus had dismissed the concerns as he always did, until this morning, when he had woken up feeling dizzy and disoriented. The Tesla's GPS indicated he was still 40 miles from his destination when the world began to blur around the edges. Marcus pulled over to the side of the narrow road, his hands trembling as he gripped the steering wheel. The mountain air was thin here, and each breath felt insufficient. His chest tightened and beads of sweat formed on his forehead despite the cool October air. Through his increasingly foggy vision, Marcus spotted a small wooden sign half hidden by overgrown blackberry bushes. Cedar Creek Medical Clinic, 2 miles. He managed to start the car again, driving slowly and carefully until he saw a modest single-story building nestled among tall pine trees. The clinic looked like it had been built in the 1960s and lovingly maintained ever since. A small gravel parking lot held only 2 vehicles, an old pickup truck and a Honda Civic that had seen better years. Marcus parked his Tesla next to them, the expensive car looking oddly out of place in this humble setting. He stumbled through the front door, his vision swimming, and found himself in a small waiting room with wood-paneled walls and chairs that belonged to a different decade. The receptionist's desk was empty, but he could hear voices coming from somewhere in the back of the building. "Hello," Marcus called out weakly, steadying himself against the doorframe. "I need help." Within seconds, a woman appeared from one of the back rooms. She was in her late 20s with warm brown eyes and dark hair pulled back in a practical ponytail. She wore purple scrubs decorated with tiny cartoon bears, the kind that suggested she worked with children as well as adults. Her name tag read, Sarah Martinez, RN. "Oh my," Sarah said, immediately moving to Marcus's side as she took in his pale complexion and unsteady stance. "You don't look well at all. Come on, let's get you into an exam room." She guided him with gentle but firm hands to a small room furnished with an examination table, a few chairs, and medical equipment that was older but well-maintained. Marcus collapsed onto the table, grateful for its stability. "I'm Sarah," she said, already taking his pulse and studying his face with professional concern. "What's your name? And can you tell me what's happening?" "Marcus," he managed to say. "Marcus Chen. I was driving, and I started feeling dizzy, short of breath. My chest feels tight." Sarah nodded, wrapping a blood pressure cuff around his arm. "Have you been under stress lately? Any heart problems in your family? When did you last eat?" As Sarah worked, checking his vital signs and asking gentle but thorough questions, Marcus found himself studying her face. There was no flicker of recognition in her eyes, no sudden change in her demeanor when he gave his name. In a world where his face appeared on magazine covers and business websites, where people approached him at restaurants and airports, her lack of recognition was both startling and refreshing. "Your blood pressure is quite elevated," Sarah said, her voice calm but concerned. 180 over 110. That's dangerous territory. I'm going to start an IV to get some fluids in you, and I want Dr. Morrison to take a look." "Is Dr. Morrison here?" Marcus asked. Sarah smiled for the first time since he had arrived, and it transformed her entire face. "He's in the back, probably arguing with the coffee machine again. This clinic has been his life for 30 years. He knows every person in a 50-mile radius and they all trust him completely. As Sarah prepared the IV, Marcus watched her work. Her movements were confident and precise, but also gentle. She talked to him in a soothing voice, explaining what she was doing and asking about his comfort level. There was something about her presence that made him feel safer than he had in months. "There," she said, securing the IV line. "That should help. Can you tell me what brought you up to our little corner of the world? We don't get many visitors driving cars like that Tesla in the parking lot." Marcus hesitated. How could he explain that he was running away from a life that looked perfect from the outside, but felt empty within? "I bought a cabin up here. Thought I'd get away from the city for a while." "That sounds wonderful," Sarah said genuinely. "Sometimes we all need to step away from our regular lives. The mountains have a way of putting things in perspective. Doctor,